it's just so special for our club, mate, our club.
Lastly, after 57 years of pain, it's coming home.
Hey there, TJ here, and welcome to Yeah The Dees, where I'm going through our round 2 loss to Brisbane on Friday the 24th of March up at the Gabba for round 2 of the 2023 season. Very disappointing game, very strange game, one of the longest games of all time, and it just sort of seems like that we attract these sort of things, kind of like the lightning strike against West Coast. We have here another absolute anomaly, the lights going out halfway through the fourth quarter and extending the game by like 48 minutes. So yeah, let's get into this game, and we'll start by going through the team selection. So going into this, I thought it was one of the stronger sides that we've put out on the park for a while, and then Stephen May was a late withdrawal, which was quite disappointing. The rumours are that if we had been playing this game on a Saturday or a Sunday, then Stephen May probably would have gotten up, and it was quite touch and go up until about 3 hours before this game. Christian Salem didn't fly up with the side. He's had another setback, so probably won't be available for another couple of weeks. Cozzy Pickett got suspended, so he'll be out for this game and our game next week against the Sydney Swans. And then Bailey Laurie also made way for Jack Viney to come in, and I felt like Jack Viney and Bailey Fritsch probably took a little bit to get going. Maybe a week in the VFL would have been handy for them. So the first quarter begins, and McInerney completely thumps the ball out of the ruck contest to the edge of the centre square at their forward 50, and this was a tactic that he used quite regularly throughout the game. It's actually really, really effective, I found, because once he hits the ball and slams it out of the area, it takes away like our best three players from impacting. If the ball's being punched 20, 30 metres away from your Clayton Olivers, your Jack Vineys and your Christian Petrarcas, then it's going to be harder for them to impact, because it's going forward to a one-on-one contest that one of our defenders has to win against one of their forwards. And he did multiple big thumps out of the ruck contests, or they were pushing Grundy or McDonald out with their strength in the rock contests once Max went off. Max went off fairly quickly, was subbed out for Jake Melksham, and that just completely threw off our chemistry, and you could just feel that it sort of sucked the energy off the bench and sort of out of the players a little bit, and, you know, capitulated towards the end of that quarter, where Brisbane were able to kick 4 goals in 8 minutes and completely outmuscled in that last 8 minutes when McDonald was trying to take some of the ruck work and give Brodie Grundy a rest. But it cost us, a good 3-4 goals towards the end of that quarter, and really that sort of ended up the difference. The main highlight from that quarter was Christian Petrarca's goal. We had some good ball movement leading up to his mark, and him slamming that home from 50 is fantastic. We've definitely seen his kicking skills improve so far this year. But yeah, that disastrous first quarter ended with us kicking 2-1-13 to Brisbane's 6-2-38 and trailed by 25 points. If we were able to hold on and not concede those 4 goals towards the end, it might have been a bit different. Yeah, it all fell apart, and they just got on a bit of a roll and were able to put these goals on the board and take advantage of the mismatch in the ruck while Grundy was having a rest. I think we're definitely going to have to bring in a Jacob Van Rooyen into the side next week to help with that. I did notice in the VFL he did quite a bit of chop-out work. But yeah, I just don't think that Tom McDonald's quite up to it. He seems to be lacking a bit of pace and jump at the moment. We start off the second quarter by getting the first goal off the board, which is a really nice goal from Ben Brown, nice and long. He's looking quite fit and performing well. Unfortunately, the Lions were able to get the next 2, and that second goal of that quarter by Danaher was pretty much gifted from Adam Tomlinson after he him and Lever kind of went for the same ball and spoiled each other, and it seemed like a bit of a frustrating tackle They gave away a free kick that Joe Danaher was able to capitalise on. But yeah, we were just getting absolutely smashed in these clearances in this game. One of the big highlights for that quarter was Ben Brown's snap goal from the pocket, and then Bailey Fritsch also getting his first goal of the year to continue his streak of 30 games in a row without at least one goal. So in the end, we did a bit better in that second quarter. We actually won that quarter, kicked 3-1-19 to Brisbane's 2-2-14, now trailing by 20 points at half time, so we were able to cut the margin by 5 points. Brisbane just came out and dominated this third quarter. Danaher and Cameron connected for a really fluky goal just to sort of launch the second half, and it's just like, you just have some days where it's just not your day, and that was pretty much it for the D's. Just everything was going right for Brisbane, where, you know, the ball's falling on Charlie Cameron's foot for that sort of goal. Them getting the first 3 goals of the quarter just sort of really sucked the life out of the game for us. Bailey Fritsch, we were able to get a nice coast-to-coast goal from that one. It was some of our better ball movement, and we're able to pinch another one back through Alex Neil-Bullen later on in the quarter, but that was undone by 2 more goals to Brisbane in the end. So we kicked 2-1-13 to Brisbane's 5-1-31. They extend the lead out to 38 points. So we get into the fourth quarter, and it starts off with Joe Danaher kicking another goal and extending the lead. Lockie Hunter's able to kick his first goal for the D's. And then, 12 minutes into the quarter, there's a throw-in. One of the Brisbane players picks it up and kicks it towards half forward, where Angus Brayshaw takes an intercept mark, and then he kicks into the centre of the ground, and boom, the lights go out. There's fire in the globe, and we're all sitting there wondering whether the rest of this game's going to go ahead. And thank God it did, because we got a bit of redemption in that last 12 minutes. It was the best footy we had played all game. And then, we go on to kick like 5 goals in 12 minutes, and we almost bloody pinch it. They just threw everything at it. They, I guess the long break, kind of helps change your mindset. It takes you out of that emotion where you're kind of sucked into, like, we're pushing shit uphill, and they were just able to throw whatever they could at the Lions and be a bit more daring, and we managed to get 5 goals in this late part and almost pinch it. Absolutely almost pinch it. We left the ground in a much better way than we would have if we had have ended up losing that game by 40 points, which is how it was looking. In the end, in that quarter, we kicked 6-1-37 to Brisbane's 1-4-10. So we ended up winning 2 quarters for the game, and Brisbane won 2 quarters for the game, but the 2 quarters that they won were a lot better. And it's really that 4-goal run towards the end of the first quarter that sort of did us undone, because we made that back in this last 12 minutes. So if you really look at after quarter time, the Demons kicked 11-3-69 to the Lions 8-7-55, which we have a 14-point positive turnaround after quarter time, even though we played absolutely awful. I don't think we kicked these 5 goals towards the end of this quarter without that 40-plus minute break, being able to sort of adjust to the conditions a bit more. I've heard Fagan come out and say that he thought that they were disadvantaged because they came out on the ground like 5 minutes later. Apparently that was analysed, and it was only 3.5 minutes. I don't think, 180 to 240 seconds difference about being out on a ground warming up is really going to change much. I think, Brisbane just sort of thought they had it in the bag. But, you give us Cozzy Pickett, Stephen May, Christian Salem and Max Gawn back into that lineup, and we don't lose that by 11 points. And given the way that we played in the first 3.5 quarters, to only lose that game by 11 points is actually quite commendable. A humid game, it was shit conditions. The bounce of the ball just didn't seem to go our way. The umpiring, we had the same 4 umpires from last week, and they were just very ordinary. So hopefully we don't have that team again. I hope we get a different team next week. It's completely different playing up at the Gabba at this time of the year than it is playing later in the year. Like, it's wet, it's sweaty, it's just humid. It's the ball's slippery, and if you're not training in it all week, it takes a little bit to adjust to. And yeah, we were just behind the 8 ball a bit in this game, and it just turned out to be a bit of a garbage game. The Max Gawn injury is a big one, but I think it's going to help us in the long run. It's kind of like taking 2 steps back to launch 3 steps forward. Brodie Grundy is going to get a lot more ruck time in these next 4 to 6 weeks. Getting your hit zones, knowing where your players are running, getting that chemistry between your rucks and your rovers takes a bit of time. So having more time in games to do that early in the season will only provide dividends by the end of the year, I think, with Grundy being forced to ruck more and just play with the midfield and get a bit more chemistry. So that's at least something that I'm kind of excited about from this awful injury. So that's kind of my thoughts on the game there. Let's go through the team stats. Now, the stats between like disposals, you can see that we were over handballing a lot more, 49 more handballs than Brisbane. Disposal efficiency was rather similar, but yeah, our efficiency inside 50 was quite trash. We could have been a lot better. Free kicks evened up towards the end of the game, but yeah, we whilst we were winning the hitouts, we just got absolutely smashed in clearances. That's almost double in both the centre clearances and the stoppage clearances. And when you're giving yourself that much opportunity out of clearances, then the only way that you can bounce back is if you're doing it through turnover, and we didn't win the turnovers either. Brisbane had their day. They were bouncing back from their loss against Port Adelaide, where they, had their pants pulled down and were quite embarrassed. And unfortunately, it just came into a perfect storm against us. You would know after all that shit last year with Harrison Petty, and then just happens that this happens to be Harrison Petty's 50th game, that they were really going to come out and shit on his party. And this was an early year grand final for the Brisbane Lions, and they came out firing against us, and then just everything that could go wrong did go wrong for us. But yeah, look, coming from a 46-point lead with 7 minutes into the fourth quarter to end up only losing by 11 points. I think that's the positive there. Clayton Oliver with a huge 37 disposals, probably could have used a few of them a little better, but was very much just trying to get territory for us. Angus Brayshaw with 27, very strong in defence. Christian Petrarca 24, Lockie Hunter 22, Tom Sparrow, Jake Lever, Jack Viney and Trent Rivers all getting a bit of it. Looking at the metres gained, Clayton Oliver was our best by far, 774 for that one. Lockie Hunter had some great efforts throughout the game, 484. He's just looking more and more comfortable in the red and blue with us. Trent Rivers up there again, very important player. Just trying his guts out the whole time. And that's something that is very commendable about the way that we go about it, is that the boys keep trying, no matter what the margin is, no matter how far down we are. The boys keep running and they keep giving it a crack, and they don't give up. It's not like what we saw in the Port Adelaide Collingwood game where Jason Horne-Francis just gave up on chasing a player when they were like 40 points down. It's just, we don't see that from our players, and it's quite admirable. And it's something that we come to expect when we go to watch the D's every week, is that they're just going to go and give it an absolute crack. As for the VFL, the Casey Demons had a very nice 37-point win over the Footscray Bulldogs. I was surprised that it was so much of a win, because we had a practice match the week before where we got absolutely thumped in. So I was like a little bit worried going into this game, being like, I'm not sure how the VFL side's going to go. But Michael Hibbert had 36 touches and 10 marks, which is just phenomenal. Bailey Laurie backing up with a really nice performance after playing in the AFL the week before. He had 27 touches. Luke Dunstan had 29 touches. James Jordan had 25, looked very nice. He kicked 2 goals too. Jacob Van Rooyen had 19 touches, kicked 1 goal, 1. Sestan and Shaki combined for 5 goals between them. But yeah, he apparently got a hit, unfortunately, so might not be able to make it into the side. Our other draft pick, Matt Jefferson, kicked 0 goals, 4, but he showed some great signs, taking 7 marks. So yeah, he was pretty impressive, but unfortunately wasn't able to convert. But it looked like pretty much how the game went. It was pretty steady, and we had a couple of flurries of goals, which helped extend the lead. So a good game down at Casey. Now, looking at the team from this week going into next week, you would say that Stephen May would come in to play the Swans and to play on Buddy Franklin. So Adam Tomlinson would unfortunately miss. Michael Hibbard had a great game in the VFL, so it looks like he might come back as well. And with Max Gawn going out, do you bring in a JVR? Because it seems like a Josh Shaki may need a week off with a concussion hit. So they would be possibly the only real changes I would make for this Sydney team. So that's pretty much it for Yeah The Dees this week. Thank you very much for watching or listening. Let me know your thoughts about the game in the comments below, and I'll see you next week for another episode of Yeah The Dees.
And it's just so special for our club, mate, our club.
Lastly, after 57 years of pain, it's coming home.